Sports since 1978. Featuring the Greenfield Gunner, Mike Edwards, former Maryville Scot, Donnie Moore, former UT coach, Ray Trail, from the Daily Times, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Troy Prove O'Haron.
Hello, everybody, and greetings from the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. I'm Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, along with Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons, and this is the Goatee Sports Page. Tennessee heads to the Bluegrass State to face Kentucky, and we're going to the Whistle Blows. And now let's set today's lineup card, sponsored by Blunt Partnership. The University of Tennessee Sports Report, sponsored by the Cherokee Group and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, lead off with Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Today, we'll look back at the Vols' second-half meltdown at Bama and then set the stage for tonight's game with Kentucky. Donnie Moore will update us on high school scores and news from around the area, and then Mark It Down with Marcus Fitzsimmons, sponsored by Mandy B. Street Realty, features Maryville High School cross country. The Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week segment will be on the docket, as Eagleton Academy football will be featured. Donnie Moore returns to discuss headlines from around the sports world before the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on today's SEC football schedule. And finally, the Bowl Prediction segment closes out today's show as the panel looks into the crystal ball and makes their pigskin picks. And now it's time for the Cherokee Group UT Sports Report and the Murphy's Bobcat SEC Notebook, featuring Marcus Fitzsimmons and Donnie Moore. Guys, good morning to both of you. And before we get started, Donnie, I want to mention again that we've got a new frequency on the radio. We're at 92.5 now, and I'm telling you, that station is coming in loud and clear. It's my favorite radio station.
There you go, Mike.
They play the oldies of my generation, and I really like that. I was thinking the other day, every time a song comes on, because I take back when I was practicing basketball as a young boy, I'd take my radio down to the boys' club and set it on the stage there behind the goal, and I'd put on the music that they're playing on this radio station. And shooting's all about rhythm. You know, they'd have the Beach Boys on there, the Supremes or whatever. And, you know, it's just you make your moves out there on working on your own and taking your shots and so forth. So, for me, this radio station brings back a lot of memories, and I would encourage our listeners to listen to this music, the greatest singers and the greatest music that there's ever been, Donnie Moore.
Yes, sir.
You can't hardly argue that, can you?
Mid-century radio, 92.5 on your FM dial, 1180 on your AM
Yes, sir.
dial.
Yes, sir. And it's coming in loud and clear all across the area right now, and we did want to make mention of that. So let's move on and let's talk about volunteer football, and we're going to start off with the letter rip segment. And today I'm ripping Josh Heupel for not punting the ball against Bama last Saturday, and I'm not only ripping the call on calling the punts, but also the play calling on what they ran to try to make the first down. For holy gosh almighty, I couldn't see what the heck's going on. But the first time they went for it on fourth down, they didn't make it, and of course they got bailed out because Alabama's fine quarterback Jalen Milroe was intercepted in the end zone down there, and they got out of that. But the second time, Bama came away with points. Can't fault him the third time, Marcus, because the game was pretty well over with, and he went for fourth down right there. But, boy, that second one, you know, I don't know. I guess what I'm thinking is if you're going to go for it, you got a 240-pound quarterback, and if you're needing a yard, put him up there under the center and let him take it straight ahead. And if he can't get him done on his own, put your fullback or your extra back there and just push him. Or maybe the biggest lineman you got, put him in the backfield and just push him on across there for the yard. But I didn't get, I was questioning the fourth round call. You're up, you got some momentum, back Bama up, make them go 80 yards or 90 yards. We're punting the ball real well. The punting game won the game last week against Texas A&M because they punted it down on the 1 yard line, and then A&M had to punt and we run it back. That was the difference in the football game pretty much. But they're 3 for 13 right now on fourth down calls, Marcus. We going to see some more of that today up in Lexington?
I hope not.
Oh, me too.
That's all I can say. I know there are charts and there are situationals, and this is what you do here, and this is what the odds favor you on this. But sometimes you just got to use some common sense and look at it and be like, you know what, guys? We can't afford not to get this, so maybe we don't need to risk it.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a punter having the day like he had up there. Because, I mean, didn't he pass the record with a 71-yarder in that game?
He's quite adept at what he does.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he broke Colquitt's record in that game.
Yeah. Yeah, I
mean, let him go.
I think
turn him loose. Let him back him up because
he kicked with either foot.
I know Bama scored, but they were scoring a lot of those points came on shorter fields from Tennessee mistakes.
Yeah. I just felt like, back him up, make him go the long field. Milrow has trouble sometimes, handling pressure.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a young quarterback. Maybe he could have made a mistake down there that we could have intercepted, or maybe got a fumble down there and really took advantage of it. But, it's one of those deals, I guess. If Josh Heupel's an aggressive coach, and I don't see him changing his ways. Now, he may change the play call, to make the yard, but I think going forward in like a shotgun situation against Bama with everybody stacked up there, you could tell when that ball was hiked there was just too much there was no way that was going anywhere. Too much penetration.
Yeah. Maybe the Vols could take a lesson and go to a clinic held by the Philadelphia Eagles and do what they call the brotherly shove.
Yeah. Or I'll tell you what.
Those guys are very
Come
successful.
down here to Alcoa. At least line up in punt formation and make them think about it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot to be gained. Even if they know the fake's coming, you're still not 100% sure the fake is coming.
That's right.
Or how about this deal, like the Chicago Bears? Put the fridge in there.
Oh, man.
You know what I'm saying? Put the fridge in there. You got a big lineman there that can get you a yard.
I don't think Heupel's allowed to go on the field that way. I don't think Josh is allowed to go on the field that way.
Yeah, the
fridge could get you a yard or two.
I'm telling you right now, down the goal line with 2 yards to go, you just give it to the fridge.
Yeah.
Down there to put it in. Yeah. While we're on Let Her Rip, I didn't have this in the forefront, but a lot of Tennessee fans were upset with the officiating last Saturday. Bama was only flagged, one time for 5 yards. I'll tell you what, that was a perfect game by them, but we were talking about the officiating and some of the things that we saw go on, maybe some pass interference calls and maybe some face masks that didn't get called really on both sides on the deal, but Tennessee, I think, was flagged 5 times in the game. But last year, Marcus, there wasn't much complaining about the officiating in the Tennessee game, but
complaining up in Knoxville, there was
a
whole lot of complaining down in Tuscaloosa.
But last year, everything was fine with officiating when Bama got flagged 17 times, and one of them was an interception down there in the end zone that the guy ran all the way back to Tennessee's 10-yard line that virtually would have iced the game. It would have been over right there. So I tell you, you can complain about officiating, but what I've seen through the years, it all kind of evens out, huh?
Yeah, and you would prefer it just even out in a game, or, just get every call right, but that's just not going to happen. I mean, people are human, and so many times now especially, you don't think about it, but that first view you see sometimes in the replay, and you're like, well, maybe, and then they show it again, but it's from a different angle, and you're like, oh, well, yeah. Well, the official doesn't have that other angle. He's only got one set of eyes. He's only got one perspective. He's only seen it from one direction. So, yeah, stuff gets missed, and it's going, you don't want you'd say venue impacts the calls, but it does in a way.
Yeah, and some of those calls that happened Saturday that were flagged against the Vols were crucial, Donnie.
Oh, they were.
And when they're crucial, they look a lot bigger. They're a hold or a personal foul right there when, you just didn't need that.
They can be huge.
Yeah. Well, last Saturday, Tennessee did journey down to Alabama, and they came up on the losing end of it, 34-20. They were outscored the second half, 27 to nothing.
Yeah.
The second half. And I've got to admit that watching the game the first half, Marcus, I thought the Vols played their best football of the year the first half against Bama, and they really left some points on the board, I thought, down there in that first half. That score at 20-7 could have been a lot worse than that. Huh?
If you were feeling good, I guess I could see why you would, but my feeling was like Tennessee should have 35 points up and have this put away, and they've left Alabama an opening.
Yeah, they sure did. I would think that Alabama probably would have gone to the locker room feeling, we're down 20-7, but that's 2 scores. But really were pretty fortunate because they turned two of those possible touchdowns for Tennessee into field goals in that first half. And I thought that was big. Squirrel White's catch in the end zone, one of the best catches of the year, I felt like. But the second half, it was like Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what Alabama said at halftime. I don't know what Tennessee said at halftime. But whatever Alabama said, it certainly worked coming out the second half. And whatever Tennessee said at the halftime probably wouldn't be the type of halftime discussion you would want in future games here the rest of the year.
I think there was probably definitely some Saban motivation, but the adjustments Alabama made, Tennessee did not seem prepared for any of them and didn't seem able to adjust to what Alabama was doing once they saw it in the third quarter, because they were still going with the same thing, and those same, like, there didn't seem to be the adjustment that Alabama's picked it up and done this, and Tennessee didn't seem to adjust so much as panic.
Yeah. You know, Coach Trail, that was on this show for years, used to tell the story where Frank Broyles, when they weren't playing very well, at halftime, Frank was in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and Frank would get them all in there and say, "Boys, we got to block better, and we got to tackle better." Never raised his voice and said, "We got to throw the ball better. We got to cut down on our turnovers, and we just got to play better football all the way around." And then he said Frank would leave the locker room, and his assistants were out there, and he said he would say, "Okay, boys, you can go on in there." And the assistant coaches would come in there, and they would throw stuff, and they would go crazy and tell them what they would do. And Frank, he wasn't going to have any part of that whatsoever.
Fire and brimstone.
That's Coach Trail used to say that's how Arkansas turned it around at the half. That's how Frank turned it around. I always got a big kick out of that. But I'll tell you, Marcus, who was the main contributor for the loss? Was it Josh Heupel, Joe Milton, the offensive unit, the defensive unit? Where do you lay the blame for that second half?
There's something that's collective when you see what happens. Because,
team effort, huh?
The offense can't score, the defense can't make a stop. Your coaching is not making adjustments or had a completely wrong set of adjustments made at halftime, whichever the case may be. They certainly weren't prepared for what Alabama was doing, and they never seemed to make the changes to what they were doing to try to counter. I think last year we were pretty definite that in the matchup, Josh Heupel outcoached Nick Saban, especially in the fourth quarter. But this year, it was like Tennessee put everything it was going to do on display in the first half. Nick Saban went to the locker room, drew something up, and came out and definitely, Tennessee was totally outcoached the second half.
Well, it didn't take long. They threw the long pass, and on the board with less than 10 seconds in the second half, Donnie.
Yeah, there was
that pass changed. I think that pass changed the momentum right there.
I did too, and then from that point on, there was never any sense of urgency in Tennessee's play.
No,
and I think that just changed the whole course of the game.
I didn't see a lot of leadership out there, or a lot of enthusiasm. That second half, it was almost like, well, here we go. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Milton and his performance. I thought the first half he looked really good. He did miss a couple of passes. He missed a pass, I think, to the tight end there in the end zone, and maybe one other pass down there when we had to settle for field goals. And he made some plays running the football, the first half. But the second half, Marcus, as good as he looked the first half, the second half, it was a downer. He looked just about as bad the second half as he looked good the first half.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can put it all on him, but certainly when things started going south, he went south with them. And that's the disappointing thing, is because Tennessee has got very used to a quarterback that when things went south, their Hooker was the leader who would put them back right. And Joe hasn't shown that ability.
Not to this point.
Yeah. I questioned their confidence in him, Donnie, in throwing the ball. It looks like they're just not, in situations where you think they ought to maybe make a pass over the middle or whatever, they're doing something else. They're running the ball or staying away from him throwing it in situation. And I don't know. I don't know what it is. Of course, if you're coming off of Hendon Hooker, and and you're looking at two different animals here, aren't you? I mean, really.
You really are, and I don't know when they're beginning to have a lot of confidence in him is going to start, Mike. I mean, this is his senior year.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any more time.
Yeah, and he's been around long enough to really prove himself.
Yeah, he has.
But I thought that was, and we talked about it last week, I thought that was the game that he really had to come out and show what he could do in the Alabama game and get over the hump and so forth. And
well,
now
my question to that is, now you've lost to Alabama, so a lot of things are off the table at this point because you've got your 2 SEC losses. When do we start seeing the new kid? When do they put him out there and give him a series? What's it going to hurt at this point to just work him in for a series in the second quarter of every game just to give him some experience?
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think you're going to see him because, especially if the big upset happens down today, Georgia and Florida. Now, let's say Florida beats Georgia and Tennessee beats Kentucky. Well, they're right back in the race. And they can kind of control. They kind of control their own destiny again because they've got Missouri on the road, and then they got Georgia in here, and you got a whole different.
Even if you in your dream scenario there, which keep on dreaming, but even that scenario, you still got 2 losses. Even if you go to the SEC championship game and win it, you're not going to the playoffs. Yeah. You're going to get a nice trip to the Sugar Bowl or something, but you're not going to be in that national championship hunt, which is what the expectation is at this point. So, what damage can you do? What is it going to? What are you going to get worse from him that I mean, Joe's he's throwing interceptions. He's not completing passes. Why not give him some motivation? He played better when they were competing with Hooker. He played better than he's playing right now.
I don't think there's anything different that's happened up to this point that most people didn't think was going to happen. I mean, most people didn't think they were going to beat Alabama. A lot of people thought they were going to beat Florida, but a lot of people thought there was going to that Georgia and Alabama were going to be the 2 losses, and they would possibly lose one other game. And right now they're right on that schedule. The other game is Florida, and they've lost to Alabama. So as we're sitting here this morning, as the way I see it, depending on what goes tonight, and then with Missouri coming up in a couple of weeks, they're right on schedule, Marcus.
Okay,
pretty much.
If they lose tonight, do you start venturing for the freshmen to get some time and get some series?
If they lose tonight, I'm saying that next week against Connecticut would be a good time to get him in there and get him some experience. Okay. I'm not saying I'd start him, but
I didn't say start him. I said at least give him a series.
Well, yeah, you've already blown his red shirt year.
Red shirt year.
Yeah,
no,
you would have thought.
You got 4 games now before you blow your red shirt. So
okay, well
they can play him. They can play him 2 more games without endangering his red shirt.
I don't think it's going to happen. Heupel has said all along that this is Joe Milton's team, and Joe Milton is going to play.
Yeah.
He's going to be the leader of this team, whether he is a true leader or not.
Yeah, I think the fact that the part of the game that really kind of turned it with Joe Milton last week. Tennessee was down 27-20 and had the ball. Right there in the last latter part of the fourth quarter. They're still in the football game. And then, no fault to him, he didn't see the blindside rush. He fumbles the ball, they pick it up, and they score. And that's pretty well the end of it. But if he could have taken them down there and scored right there, tied the game up, then we got a whole different outlook. But that didn't happen. And I want to question also the play calling right there at the end when Tennessee's down 2 scores and we're running the ball. Would you explain that to me, Marcus? And we got timeouts and we're running the ball. Sure. And Bama's in a prevent defense back here, and we got to go down the field with the ball, and we're throwing short stuff, gaining 5 or 10 yards with the ball, and they're keeping everything in front, exactly what they want us to do with the clock running. I didn't understand that play calling either myself.
I can't explain it.
You still got a chance. I mean, it's a long shot, but if you get a quick score right there, stranger things have happened, and get an onside kick, you're still in the football game. But if you're running the ball and throwing short stuff over the 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, you leave yourself no opportunity whatsoever. And I don't know what was going on there.
If it was a year ago, even in the prevent defense, I would have trusted Hooker to make that deep throw. that if Heupel dialed something up, and even if it's just, even if it's going to the tight end down the seam, I would have trusted that throw. I don't think there's a lot of confidence in the deep pass when there's coverage because Milton pushes, and he'll throw into double coverage, and he'll go to that receiver when he shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, let's get Donnie. Let's get to a question right here.
Okay.
The way it looks, I hate to use this expression, but Tennessee has really been a whipping boy for Florida and Bama. I mean, really, we are.
Yeah, I hate
Was
that.
that your whip noise, John?
Now I'm gonna pose you this question: who's the worst whipping boy? Us with Florida or Bama, or Kentucky and Vanderbilt with Tennessee?
Well,
Because both of those scenarios they're whipping. They're
are.
whippings.
yeah, and I'm going to say Kentucky right now. Now watch us go up there tonight and get beat. But I can't. I can't see that happening.
As frustrating as Tennessee's streak against both Alabama and Florida has been, Kentucky's frustration with Tennessee is even worse.
It is.
Think so?
Yeah,
Because
I think so too.
as many good Tennessee teams have lost to not great Alabama and Florida teams over the years, there have been some really bad Tennessee teams that have beaten some really good Kentucky teams, especially during some of the coaching we've had in the last 15, 20 years.
I agree with that.
And listen, there's been some pretty good coaches up there in Kentucky. You know, Bear Bryant coached up there in Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You know how many times he beat Tennessee, don't you? A big flat 0 while he was up there. So,
Nada.
you know, it goes back a long ways. Just not recent. Hey, the success, last year's success, before we start talking a little bit about Kentucky, Marcus, was last year's success a result of Josh Heupel or Hendon Hooker?
I think it was both.
Has to be.
Number one, I think we're all realizing at this point just how good Hendon Hooker really was. Because we all thought, part of it was him in the offense and we could sub pieces in and you wouldn't lose a beat. Well, that's not the case. And we should have known that because it was more than, Hooker got the job through an injury, but he also never gave it back. So we should have realized that there was something different there, that he was really good in what Heupel wants to do. So you have that part where you've got Hooker, but the other part is I don't think Heupel's lost a step, but I think the rest of the SEC has had another season to look at that offense and see how they want to play it, and they're seeing who beat it and how, and so they have a lot more confidence with it when it's on the road, and they feel like they can game plan a bit about it, which is right now is just don't give up the don't get beat deep.
Yeah.
Which you can do right now because of the quarterback situation.
Yeah.
Now, a season from now, will that still be the case? Maybe not. Maybe you won't be able to just say I'm not going to get beat deep because you may have a quarterback that can put it right in the right spot on a perfect fade, and you're beat anyway.
Donnie, I'm going to go with Hendon Hooker. I know that, of course, he didn't really answer the question. It was either or, and he said both. He kind of cheated a little bit.
I cheat a lot.
But
you ain't cheating. You ain't trying.
I think it leans more toward Hendon Hooker because, this is still the offense. This is still a wide-open offense, and supposedly the hurry-up offense that we saw with Hendon Hooker. But with Joe Milton, it just doesn't seem to have the rhythm at all that it had last year. Huh?
Well, it doesn't, and the fact that Heupel doesn't have the same tools that he had last year either. This is not as good a football team as it
not
was
as good
last
on the
year.
receiving end
No.
and some of the other areas.
Absolutely not.
Some of those receivers.
Defense is a little bit better than it was last year.
A lot of those receivers made a lot of good plays for Hooker last year that made Hooker look a lot better.
You better believe it.
Yeah, those receivers can make you look real good if they can
And
make those
you know
diving
what?
catches.
They're starting to make some NFL quarterbacks look real good from time
Sure
to time.
bet.
Now, one of them doesn't have a chance because they didn't have a quarterback, but, I mean,
Yep.
the other
Yeah.
two are doing some good things.
They sure are.
Number 21 Tennessee heads to Kentucky tonight to take on the Cats, and that game is slated for 7 o'clock and can be seen on ESPN. And Tennessee comes in at a 3.5-point favorite, which is not very much for a school that's dominated Kentucky all these years. But Marcus, this Tennessee team has not proven that they can win on the road, and we talked about that last week. That they played 6 games, 5 of them, they played at home, basically counting the game in Nashville as a home game. So they're unproven on the road. So are we going to look for any improvement up in Lexington tonight?
I think so. I think it's because we're going to see strength on strength, because we're going to see Kentucky running the ball, and we're going to see Tennessee trying to stop them from doing that. And I think if Kentucky can find a way to use Tennessee's aggressive nature of that front seven against it, and, with the delay in the handoff or some, doing some interesting wrinkles, they could give Tennessee some problems. But I really, really expect that Tennessee's front seven is going to end up being the difference in the game.
Yeah. Well, both of these teams come in, Donnie, with 2 SEC losses. Obviously, whoever loses this game, their hopes of an SEC East is out the window.
Dashed.
They're not going to be playing for that anymore. They're going to be playing for a bowl bid, the best bowl bid they can get, and some salvage of the season.
That's true.
So Kentucky's lost to Georgia and Missouri. They were shellacked at Georgia, and they lost rather handily to Missouri at home.
They did.
But they don't have any quality wins on their schedule at all. Kentucky doesn't. And Tennessee has been, they were tested down at Alabama and against Florida. And so I don't know. I'm just not very sold on Kentucky football, even though they've done a good job over there in the last, several years with Stoops. I'm just not sold on them, especially when they play Tennessee.
No, the Tennessee has been their bugaboo for years. And I don't see that starting to change tonight.
Marcus, what's Tennessee need to do to win the football game?
Well, first off, like I said, the front seven's got to stop Kentucky. Not stop them, bottle them up. Put them in 3rd and 5. Make them put them in those uncomfortable situations for a running team. Offensively, they need to do what they did the first half at Alabama. The game plan was working there against Alabama. It will certainly work against Kentucky. You're not going to be seeing that kind of defense out of Kentucky. So, the way they started off, getting some things done, getting a pop early, those sort of things, you can go with a very similar game plan, because in everything it's a notch down. Lexington is not Tuscaloosa. Kroger Field is not Bryant-Denny Stadium.
No, those fans come into that stadium with all kinds of doubts. You think the football team's got doubts? Those fans come in there and they got doubts written all over their faces. And it's close to Halloween. Maybe you won't be able to see it on their faces tonight because they'll be wearing masks.
It's not as close to Halloween.
I don't know, but it's like
Mike. It's not as close to Halloween. Kentucky had their first exhibition basketball game this week, so their mindset's already turning.
You watch those Kentucky fans. You like to watch those Kentucky fans, and if the game is close, they have no confidence. If the game's close, it gets into the fourth quarter, and they got their mouths open, like, I can't believe we're still in it. We're still in the game. We're still here, And so I don't know. Kentucky to win the game, I think they're going to have to run the football and play ball control and keep Tennessee off the field. That means they're going to have to test Tennessee's defense, and they got a good back. The transfer from Vanderbilt's a good back.
He is, and that's Tennessee's nightmare in this, is that if they can do what we've seen other teams do, not necessarily against Tennessee but other places, if Kentucky has 15 play drives, Tennessee's in trouble.
Yep. Hey, we'll take a timeout here, and when we return, Donnie Moore will provide high school scores and sports news from around the area, and veteran sports writer Marcus Fitzsimmons joins us with his feature, Mark It Down. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, Bunt County Sports Voice, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093. We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. The Blueticks.
Welcome back to the Goatee Sports page. It's time for Donnie Moore to come in and talk a little bit about high school football and some other things that are happening sports-wise here in the county. Donnie Moore, another fantastic night last night for high school football. I'll tell you, weather-wise, I mean, you can't hardly complain so far. Of course, there's some playoffs weeks ahead. We don't know what is going to happen there, but, boy, for 10 weeks, you couldn't ask for better weather than they've had on Friday nights.
I'm telling you,
East Tennessee.
I hearken back to the days of August when we were in the middle of the dog days of summer, and you just about roasted.
Yeah.
Out there on the field, and even in the press box, and wow.
Yeah.
It's a pleasant change.
Even last night, it was a little on the warm side. You know,
warm.
We're almost getting into November. I guess next week we're going to get a little. I think it's going to turn from just late summer to winter. I don't know how much fall weather we're going to have outside of the leaves changing around here.
That's okay. The leaves are beautiful this time of year.
Yeah, it really is. You can't beat East Tennessee as far as the foliage.
That's true.
It's all yours, Guy.
Thank you. Let's go to the Mandy B. Street Realty local scoreboard. Had a couple of games on Thursday this week. That's that way they were scheduled that way to alleviate the local officials shortage and to get the not exactly a shortage.
It's a planned move by the TSSAA, and it basically it leaned towards the 3A and below games being played on Thursday night across the state, and I think we ended up with a little bit more than a third of the games being played on Thursday.
Right.
Which helped with the officials and helped with some other things that were that are going on this time of year.
It's just a scheduling move, is what it was, in order to.
It is, and it really helps, especially when you've got 9 classifications to figure out seedings for. That you've gotten, we basically knew about 3 classifications. We had all but maybe 1 or 2 spots on the bracket figured out by Thursday night. Now there were some others in 5A and 6A that took some work, but. It makes it an easier Saturday morning and Friday night for figuring out the playoff brackets and allowing all that film to be exchanged and all that sort of thing that needs to go on.
Sure. Well, anyway, one of those Thursday night games was over at Goddard Field in Alcoa. The Alcoa Tornadoes hosted the Kingston Yellow Jackets for a region title, and the Kingston Yellow Jackets hoped it would be a good game. Well, it wasn't. Alcoa blew them out 42-7, and
let's be honest, it was 42-0.
it was.
They gave up
a touchdown.
They gave up a touchdown with 70 seconds left against the third string with
Yep.
Kingston's first string still in.
Sure.
It was the starting running back that got the game-winning touchdown on the big run. And that last drive was 92 yards, and Kingston had 174 yards for the game.
Right.
So that was more than half of their offense in the last 2 minutes against the third string.
Yeah, Alcoa likes to get their substitutes in there early and often, and get them some experience, and they did.
And we know where they're going, or where everybody's going out of that one now.
Mm-hmm. Sure do. Next week, Alcoa hosts in round 1 of the TSSAA playoffs. They host Chucky Doak, the number 4 seed out of the other region. So.
And Kingston will be hosting Johnson County. They came up on the short end last night against Unicoi.
That's a long drive.
So Unicoi will be hosting Austin East.
Okay.
And Gatlinburg-Pittman will be hosting Union County.
Okay.
Now,
very good. Thank you, Marcus.
The thing to keep in mind is because of the odd year formula, Alcoa will host the first round. If they win, they host the second round. But if they go to the quarterfinals,
they'll have to travel.
They would have to travel unless Kingston upsets GP.
Mm-hmm.
Then they would be home for the semifinals.
Right.
But
because of seeding.
In past years, Region 1 has been so weak that we haven't seen the Region 1 seed make it through the last 3 odd years. So Alcoa has been at home, so people have forgotten that they would actually have to travel for the quarterfinals if seeding held.
Year. Yeah, that's true. Well, let's go to Eagleton. Last night, they're the number 4 seed out of this region. They played Cumberland Gap. Went to Cumberland Gap. Where's Cumberland Gap? That's up near Kentucky, right?
It is. It is very close to Kentucky.
Very near Kentucky.
Eagleton's been getting around this year with
They
playing in the region. They've been to the borders of North Carolina twice. They've been up to Kentucky now. They've gone almost down to Georgia. So they have moved a lot just to play their schedule.
They have, with no seniors on the team.
No seniors and that long bus ride. That can take it out of you.
It sure can.
And I don't think it impacted Eagleton all that much after once they got started last night.
Well, they played well last night. They defeated Cumberland Gap 51-16 last night. So congratulations to the Royals.
And we'll go ahead and tease. We're hoping Coach Childs will be with us later.
Yeah.
And they scored the last 28 points straight in that game.
Good deal.
So they were up 23-16 and then just blew it out from there.
Good deal. Had a great second half. They travel to Jamestown next week. Jamestown's the number 1 team out of the other region.
York Institute.
They're
number 1.
Alvin C. York.
They're number 1 in the AP poll.
World War I hero.
10-0 this year. They're not the consensus, but they're among the top 3. The votes are pretty much split between 3 teams, and they're the one getting a little bit more than anybody else right now. But it's a tough trip for Eagleton, and we'll talk to them about that.
Okay, good deal. Next game on the agenda is another Thursday night game. Greenback Cherokees hosted Oliver Springs. Always a tough draw. Ask Scott Cupp. He was there for several years. Greenback lost that one 30-14 Thursday night.
And that one was tied 14-all at half.
Yeah, okay.
And we've talked – this has been the last 7 days have been the week for second half takeovers.
Comebacks and takeovers.
Oliver Springs scored twice in the second half to put Greenback away. But it didn't impact the seeding for anybody.
Well, Greenback being the number 4 seed in this region, they will travel to Cloudland next week.
Which is basically go to Johnson City, and if you get to North Carolina, you've gone too far.
That's another long haul.
It is a long trip, and it's up on top of the mountain too.
Yeah. Thus they call it Cloudland.
Yeah, I mean it's you come around the curve and you see a field glowing on top of a hill.
Well, all right. So Greenback's got a long trip to go. The 4 seed traveling to the 1 seed, Cloudland. Heritage traveled to Clinton. Went to Clinton last night and scored a lot of points. Scored 35 points, but they just didn't score quite enough because Clinton put up 47 on them.
And it was a lot like last week's story. I mean, Heritage put themselves in a hole early and couldn't climb out of it.
Wow.
But they gave up some big plays early and just didn't have enough time in the second half. But they pretty much dominated the second half again.
Mm-hmm.
But just couldn't make up that much ground.
Just like you said, put themselves in the hole early and didn't have the oomph to get out. So Heritage, that ends Heritage's season.
Ends Heritage season, and the field is already on its way back up in dump trucks so that the turf can go in.
As is Mike Whitefield at William Blount. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. Maryville hosted Farragut last night. Battle of two Titans, 6A.
Wow.
Maryville hosted Farragut. Farragut came out on top of this one by a field goal.
As time expired.
With 2 seconds to go. 13-10. Goodness.
And there's so many ironies in this outcome.
Yeah, aren't there?
One being that's the exact way Maryville won a week ago.
Yeah.
Was the last second field goal.
Last second field goal.
But, first loss to Farragut since '91.
Yeah.
Now they haven't played every year. There's about a 14-year
Been
gap
some.
where they didn't play, but it's been John Olive was the coach when last time Farragut won this game.
That goes back a ways.
Yeah, and it's that big game, next game scenario. We see this in sports all the time.
I thought about
You
that.
win that great big game that week before, your student body goes crazy on the high school or college level, and then you got a game next week. It's nothing but a trap game. It really is. You it's hard to get up for that one after
Sure is.
It's like going from the mountaintop, and trying to get yourself back to reality and playing well again. And upsets happen every week in college football and all sports. So
And give Farragut credit. We were talking about what Kentucky needs to do, but Farragut did that last night.
Farragut did that.
Maryville only had 5 possessions last night. They had the ball for, I believe it was less than 14 minutes.
Goodness.
I mean,
yeah.
Farragut ran 54 run plays, and Maryville just could not get the ball back. They couldn't get off the field.
Yeah.
So you have 5 drives. 2 of them are scores. One of them's a missed field goal. One of them's a turnover on downs. I mean, that's it. That's all the opportunities they got.
How are you going to score a lot of points like that?
You saw the same thing in the Alabama game. Alabama controlled the ball the second half against Tennessee, and when you control the ball like that, it takes away any chance that you got of momentum, sustaining momentum or gaining any momentum.
Yeah.
If you don't have the ball, you can't make any strides forward.
So 13-10.
We will kick out there. The last 6-4 Maryville team went on to win the state championship. So
that's true. So it could happen. So Maryville, the number 3 seed in Region 2.
Let's see. We have Maryville. They're the 3 seed. They're going to Science Hill, who they've already beaten this year.
They'll travel to Science Hill, the number 2 seed.
On the other side, Bradley Central is hosting Westridge, and Maryville would travel to Bradley Central if both were to win.
Okay.
Jefferson County is hosting Cleveland, and then Bearden is hosting Dobbins-Bennett to finish up the quad.
And that's an undefeated Bradley Central team.
It's an undefeated Bradley Central team, and let's just say Thursday night they hammered Bearden.
They really did.
They did.
On television.
The Bears are a good football
I don't
team.
think Bearden had given up more than 28 points all year, and they gave up 46 to that Bradley team.
Ooh, wow. All right, let's move on. Seymour traveled to Carter Friday night. Speaking of hammering, Carter put up a 56 burger on Seymour, 56-21. The Eagles are mercifully, their season is over.
They have 10 months to work for next year.
Yes, and they'll do that.
I have faith in that coaching staff that they know what they've got to do.
They do.
But it's a program systematic change that's going to have to take place. So it's going to take a little while.
Yeah, hopefully they'll do that. Kings Academy, another one, went to Friendship Christian last night. Friendship Christian put up 49 on TKA's 7.
And
So
Friendship
one
Christian's
score.
going to be in the mix and probably
They
going to
are.
make a semifinals. And TKA, like we said, mostly all season, not a lot of juniors and a lot of freshmen and sophomores.
Well, they'll do well in that division, at D2. William Blount went to Jefferson County last night, and they did
Shocked the state.
much better than expected
Shocked
in the first
state.
half.
People all over the place were talking at the halftime scores. I didn't care what radio station or team you were following.
Yeah.
They were talking about William Blount and Jefferson County being tied at 28
Tied
at
at
half.
28 at the end of the first half. But the second half, totally different story. William Blount got outscored 40-0 in the second half.
And, maybe they were borrowing that Nick Saban second half speech. I don't know. But
yeah.
it definitely worked.
Ended up 68-28.
I mean, the
Jeff
Governors
County.
can feel proud of that effort because I don't think Jeff County's given up 28 points as much of anybody.
No,
I mean,
I don't think so either.
And a 56-point first half was not what I would have envisioned for this game. So kudos to the Govs for finishing strong.
Absolutely.
Well, the offense
threw
had
a scare.
the
into
offense
the
really
Patriots.
for William Blount hasn't been a real big problem. They've just given up a lot of points in the games they've lost. It's hard. Hey, it's hard. It would be hard to keep pace with 68 points, Donnie.
It would,
You know what I'm saying?
no doubt.
And they've had some games where the other team scored 48. 48, 50 points.
Sure.
That's hard. That's hard to overcome, Matt. So, defense is, has been a little lackluster there and has put them in the hole in a lot of games.
Sure. Marcus, I'm going to kick it to you and let you update us on some cross-country scores right here, if you don't mind.
Okay, well, these are also brought by Mandy B Street Realty.
Yes, they are.
And we're going to use this as the perfect lead-in to our first guest for the show today. So, Region 3 AAA cross-country championships earlier this week. Cleveland came out the winner on that, but our second-place team was this is on the boys' side. Maryville was second with 75. Heritage was third with 88, and they'll both move on to state to the championships next week. Top winner individually was Noah Jinks, who was on the show last week and visited with us. Had a great conversation with him. And second place was Bryce Bohannon, who we're going to tease is in the house. And Maryville Cross Country is joining us shortly here. On the girls' side, Walker Valley and East Hamilton took first and second. The Maryville girls were third with 72. And Heritage was just outside that at 117 at fourth place. Gracie Franklin was runner-up, time of 18:57. And again, we'll tease that. Stay tuned. We've got guests.
Exactly, we do. And Marcus, I appreciate that. And now I want to tell our listeners that you are listening to WKCE 92.5 FM and 1180 AM Mid-Century Radio. And Marcus, it's all yours for your segment. Mark it down.
Well, thank you, Donnie. Our transition here just keeps getting better every week. We do, as I said, we did Maryville Cross Country is joining us. Second at the Region 3 AA Championships down in Chattanooga. Third consecutive year Maryville sending both the boys and girls teams to state. And Coach Douglas Martin, going to put you on the spot. That's a hard thing to do in this region.
Yeah, it is. I tell you what, I couldn't be happier for our runners and our teams, how they performed this year. And to take both teams is always special because, if you take just one team to the state, it's a fun experience, get those runners to compete at the highest level. To take both teams, to take both the girls and the boys is just all the better. And the teams individually, like the boys team is really close, the girls team is really close. We practice together so much, the two teams themselves are close together. So for both of them to get to go cheer each other on the other races, like while the other runners are running, it's all the more fun to have everybody there racing together at the state championship. We're really excited for it.
And Coach, you've seen this at these region and especially when you get to the state meet. When you've got both teams there, you've got a cheering section built in during that other race because you've only got so many parents that can come, but having that extra group of people along the course that can cheer runners on can make a big difference.
It can, yeah. Oh, it's always great. They support each other so well. It's always fun to see how the runners, like you said, their built-in cheering section, they cheer for the other ones while they're coming through. Well, at all the different points of the race, they know, runners know what other runners are going through in a race, and so they know when they really need that extra push, that extra cheer, the sections of the course that are hardest where they need to go to help them over those sections. And it's a great thing to have them both there.
So we'll put you on the spot a little bit because we mentioned we had Heritage here last week. Having the Blount County Championships come right before regionals. Number one, we're big fans of the county championships no matter what sport, so we were glad to see the county championships return. But having that place where it is, does it make a convenient stepping stone to go from there to regionals a week or 10 days later?
Yeah, it is nice, yep. And this season we didn't race quite as much, especially later in the season. So we had a pretty big gap. We raced mid-September, or actually late, about September 23rd, I think was our last race in Knoxville before Blount County on October 15th. And I wasn't sure initially how that big gap would work, but then we got to have Blount County Championship the 15th and then the regionals the 24th. And actually our teams responded really, really well. We were able to get some good training blocks in there, so that Blount County race was a good tune-up race for regional. We really have our three. With cross country, it really comes down to the last races. They don't really keep score of all season long. It comes down to, two races in particular, region championship to qualify and then go run at the state championship. But for us, when we say we have championship season, that includes 3 races because we have Blount County championships and then region championships and the state championship. And so it was a good jump. It really was a good jump-off point to prep us for the region.
So you got Bryce and Gracie both with you here. Talk a little bit about each one of these guys you brought with you.
I mean, I couldn't say enough good things about both of them. So I've been at Maryville coaching cross country for the last 3 years. So both of these runners, it was their first year at the high school as sophomores. They had both run as freshmen, but as far as at the high school, they're on campus with us. And great performers as sophomores, great performers as juniors, and then this senior year have just blown it out. But more than just great performers, just great kids. I absolutely love coaching these two and the whole teams, but these two seniors here have led with their work ethic and training hard all summer. I mean, they start training, really they get a little break after track, maybe a week or two, and then just jump straight into training in June, and they've been training since June 1st for this week, and these two have been up front and leading both of those teams. Gracie has had the goal of breaking 19 minutes this whole season, and then that region championship, she just blew it out from the beginning, just led the race. Pushed it hard, did everything she had to, and broke it. So excited for that, for her to get that 18:57. And then Bryce, same thing. He went into that race and, hey, I'm going to take this, and went out from the very beginning and pushed hard, led the whole pack. I mean, they went through the first mile at a great pace and then finished his race at a 16:19, which is his fastest race ever. And then now we're still hoping, come state, it's a good fast course, we can get one more great fast race this season. But both of them have just been great leaders for these teams as seniors.
Well, Bryce, we'll put you on the spot now. You ready?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
So you're breaking out. You've already raced. The three top runners are all out of Blount County. You know these guys. You've already raced a week ago against them. Talk a little bit about how the race went as far as who was chasing who, because as it came out, Noah got the first, but William Blunt's Warren McKinley was right behind you guys. So how did it kind of play out as far as the race itself went?
From the beginning, I went out in the lead with a Cleveland kid, and I could hear Noah behind me, like people yelling his name. And he probably passed me like halfway in the race, and then I was just chasing him the rest, and Warren was just behind us, William Blunt's kid.
So,
yeah.
If you have your preference in what makes a better time for you, is it being chased or is it chasing the guy in front of you? What usually brings out your better time?
Definitely being chased. It's like more scary, I guess. Gives me more adrenaline. And
you're the kid nobody wanted to play tag with, aren't you? Because you were the one that always got away from everybody.
Exactly. Exactly.
Gracie, I was looking at the time, and Coach mentioned it. You got under 19, and I was just looking at it, and I was like, wow, that's a great time. And when I compare it to what you ran at state last year, I mean, that's almost a minute and a half better, a little bit better actually. That's a great drop from junior year to almost end of senior year. How good does it feel to get to that milestone, to get under 19?
It definitely feels great. It was something I'd been trying to do since basically my sophomore year. Because sophomore year I was kind of running low 19s, and then junior year I was kind of stepping back a little bit, and my times were getting a little slower, and so to get back to where I was felt really good.
So you all have been to Chattanooga. You knew what to expect from that course. How did it kind of run this time compared to what you saw a year ago or as a sophomore?
So a year ago they changed the course. It was a 2-loop course instead of 3-loop course. And I think a lot of people did not like the 2-loop course as much. So the 3-loop course is it was really fun, and it's really great to be able to pace each mile as a loop, basically. And it's a really flat course, really smooth, just mostly grass.
Now, I was teasing Heritage about that. Do you all know what to do when you get to a flat course like that? Because you can't find that much flat ground in Blount County in one stretch.
It's hard. I mean, y'all go ahead. They're the ones racing it, so y'all go ahead. What do y'all think?
It's a little weird. The main focus on courses like that is the turns, because you don't really have those hills to catch people on. So you're kind of focusing on catching people on the turns.
Yeah. You just got to act like it's track.
That's what I was waiting to hear. Is you got to act like you're running on the track. It's just a great big track.
We do call it the grass. We call that course the grass track. We say get out there and run it like a grass track.
So you're advancing to state. So that takes place for Thursday. It's up at Sanders Ferry Park in Hendersonville again. And Coach, maybe you know this, maybe you don't. I've always been curious. I remember we moved it to Hendersonville during COVID year, but it never went back to Nashville.
It did not, so it didn't go back to Steeplechase. This year they put in a bid to host it back at Steeplechase, and I'm not exactly sure how TSSAA chose to go back to Saunders Ferry to Hendersonville instead of Steeplechase. So Steeplechase wanted it back, and I don't know about the runners. Most of the runners now that we have not ever run at Steeplechase because we haven't gone back to run it since they moved the state. The Saunders Ferry course is a much more spectator-friendly. As a runner, just running it and previewing it, I prefer it. Now, the runners might have a different opinion. It's a little bit more rolling, much more spectator-friendly in terms of being able to see the runners more often. And I think it's a great course. I was not disappointed when they chose to go back to Hendersonville instead of the Steeplechase course. So we're excited for it.
So, guys, you've both seen the course, and Coach said, you've seen it a couple times. How do you feel about it, and what do you have to do on that one versus running on the flat track you saw at Chattanooga?
Well, there's more hills, obviously, than the Chattanooga race, but we're just going to push up the hills, and we've worked on that all year, going up hills, and push down the hills mainly because that's where you catch a lot of people because they're tired from going up. So, yeah, you just got to focus on the hills, basically. Now,
given that you put those hills in the mix, is there a chance that the PR is going to drop again, or was Chattanooga kind of the peak point? What are you feeling is what you're looking to do at state?
That's always the hope, is to get another PR. The biggest focus there, though, is just going to be racing people, and if the PRs come, then they will. But the main focus is just getting those spots and racing people.
All right, and Coach, I'll close out with you with this. I'm looking at times, and I'm thinking, you came in 8 of 24 with the guys last year, and the girls were 12th. I'm looking at the times, and it looks like you're in a better position than that.
So this year it'll be, when you get to state, you never know what's going to happen. And last year, so going into the state, we were seeded. The guys were seeded 8th, and we got 8th. Like we met our seed perfectly. Girls were seeded 15th and got 12th. This year, our seeds are a little bit further back,
really?
Especially on the guys' side. But one thing that's really fun about us, we have a lot younger team this year. Still, some guys that have just performed better and better every single year. Every single race. So when we get to state, you never know what's going to happen. So our goal, like Gracie says, is places. So going in, I don't remember the exact in seeding. With cross-country seedings, the way they put them up is they combine everybody's best time, so you never really know what courses those were run on. They're not all equal, but our goal is always to beat where we are, and then we have some teams that maybe we've compared to either in our region or across the state, say, hey, I think we can beat that team. And so with our guys, with both our teams, I think if we finish the top 15, based on where we're starting now, that would be exceptional seasons. And so with a lot of times, people look at it and say, wait, top 15, that's not that great. But with if you put it in terms of quarterfinals, semifinals, when you're one of the top 15 teams in the state out of 80 teams, that's a big accomplishment. And to see where these teams have come from, and I kind of joke and say with my boys' team, everybody said, hey, how the teams look? I said, well, our boys are going to be fast. I'm just not sure how, because we had so many young runners. I said, I just don't know how everybody runs, and then they have proved it, and everybody has just gotten faster every single race. At the regional race, our top 5 guys ran their season best times at the region race, and so we're just looking to pull that into state and beat our current seed. And then for the girls, they have been fast every year. I mean, every race they've been fast from the beginning, and they've just kept getting faster, which is awesome. And so once again, look to finish ahead of our seed. And even with those teams, with the region teams, the spread between the top 3 teams was 12 points. So go and beat the 2 teams from our region would be great. We got 3rd at the region, but it's very close. It was such a close race to get into a big race, and everybody performed. We could beat those teams again. And so we have those goals within the race as well. So really, really excited for the state, though. Can't wait to see how these kids run on Thursday.
Well, congratulations on making state again. And appreciate you coming in this morning, because, there are things you could be doing, like still being in bed instead of coming to visit with us on the radio. So we thank you for getting up and doing that. Wish you the best of luck on Thursday. And, I told Coach earlier, the forecast is improving. So it's moved back up into the 59, 58, perfect running weather. So best of luck with all that when you get up to Hendersonville.
Thanks for having us on here. We really appreciate it.
All right, Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Hey, thanks, Marcus. It's time to turn the page and announce the Anderson Lumber Company Player of the Week. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza, made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Your newspaper? That's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at stevensontire.net. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service.
Welcome back to the Bluetick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards along with the rest of our broadcast crew, and now it's time for the Go Tees Sports Page Player of the Week segment, sponsored by Anderson Lumber Company, where quality service is always a priority. Proudly serving Blount County for over 75 years. I'm going to bring back in Marcus Fitzsimmons. And Marcus, you got Eagleton Academy football in here this morning, and what a year they've had for the first time out of the gate over there. They're in the playoffs, and I believe they're 4-6, and really had a couple of close games right there where they could have been 5-5 and maybe 6-4. But I think big strides for them in their first year over there. They got to be proud of that, and we're anxious to hear what they got to say. So I'm going to turn it over to you, buddy.
Yeah, we're really pleased to have Coach back with us, and coming off the 51-16 win up in do we call it Kentucky? I guess we can go ahead and call it Kentucky.
It's awfully close.
It's pretty close. I mean, the Gap is supposedly how they got in here in the first place. So it is up there. Get the win, and with that, clinch a playoff spot. First-year program getting a playoff spot, that's got to feel good. That's got to check a goal you all had from the very beginning.
No doubt. I mean, the goal from the beginning was to host a playoff game. Obviously, that didn't happen. If the team that showed up the last 4 weeks played the first half of the season, I think we could have done that, you know. But I've tried to tell reporters, you know, talking of youth and no experience or lack of experience, and you know, at some point, you got to step back and realize these kids come a long way, you know, and I'm proud of their effort, proud of how they've been sold out all year. You know, they could have easily, you know, cashed it in and said, you know, we're just our first year, you know, we're freshmen, we're sophomores, we got 5 juniors so they didn't do that. They came to work every Monday and they got better, and this one's turned into a heck of a leader, and I'm just proud of them.
And, you know, you touch on it there, but it is real easy to say, oh, we're a first-year program, and kind of use that as why things don't happen. You guys haven't done that. I mean, and when we look back at the season now with a little bit different perspective, because one thing that sticks out to me is early on, you all make the trip to Happy Valley, and at that point, Happy Valley had not looked like a good team all year long. And they bring out a whole new offense to roll against you guys, and we're wondering what in the world's going on. We thought this
You and me both, brother.
And as it turns out, Happy Valley finishes number 2 in the region.
Yeah.
Basically just plowed the rest of the season after beating you guys.
Yeah.
You were their turning point.
Yeah,
not that you want to be that,
yeah,
but, you know, it wasn't like what happened to you didn't happen to everybody else in the region.
Right. Coach Jarrett, great guy. Talked to him a lot. And talked to him a lot before the game, and then comes out, and I'm like, what in the world are they? What are we doing? They haven't showed this in 3 games. They're 0-3. They had prepared for Hampton in a bye week, and he thought, I mean, he told me this, I think we can do some of this. Unfortunately, he did that against us that haven't been in the weight room as long as, you know, a senior should be in the weight room, and physically – they beat us up a little bit, and that's a lot of what this region is. It's physical power football, and we've got to win in the weight room. We've got to take this offseason serious, but we're going to go and try to wreak some havoc in the playoffs. I mean, that's our goal. But, you know, we worked out on a stage with 4 racks. How many kids? Like 50, 60, all sports. 5th period. We didn't get into our new current unbelievable awesome weight room until after dead period. You know, so I'm not making excuses, but they worked. It was just different. You know, we had stations on the gym floor, plyometrics on the gym floor, kettlebells, dumbbells, and then your Olympic lifts were taking place on the stage. So we were behind the 8 ball in some of that, and I think Happy Valley kind of showed us And then we got a real bitter taste in our mouth from Hampton. You know, that's what power football is, and that starts in the weight room.
You brought a young man in that we've talked to before. But go ahead and introduce him, and if you want to brag about what he did last night a little bit, feel free.
Oh, he didn't do much last night. He just threw the ball. What did we say? 15 yards, and 2 receivers took it 120 for you. So
I don't think the numbers did justice. I mean, the receivers made me look a lot better than I was. It was just a lot of get them the ball, and they were making good plays last night.
Well, we'll brag on you a little bit there.
Here you go, boy.
Because I'm looking at the 11 of 16, 11 completions, 4 of those for touchdowns, 274 yards in the air. Got your plus your 3-yard touchdown run there.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for giving credit to your receivers because those guys did do a lot of work. But talk about the first one when you find Cope on what was the pass, and it looked like he did a lot of work for you.
Yeah, no, I just flipped the feet, got it out there 6, 7, 8, 10-yard pass, and he took it like 40 yards, something like that. It was easy, man. We had a lot of those too. Made my job really easy last night.
And you got somebody involved in there that I've been wanting to see get involved in the offense all year, and that was Colton Relation. 2 touchdown passes for him. Talk about what he was able to do for you.
Yeah, he got going. He had a lot of good kickoff return, punt returns too. I mean, he's got that speed. If he gets the ball and he gets some legs rolling, he can really make some good plays, and I think he showed that last night.
And, Coach, I think you felt that you could do some of those things because at this point Cumberland Gap is pretty much hanging back and trying to come up to things rather than trying to stop them from happening.
Right. Getting kids the ball in space is what we've tried to do offensively, whether that be little motion, jet action type of stuff, whether that be just flipping your feet and throwing the ball out to the numbers. They're playing off, and there wasn't a whole lot of help over the middle of the field. So Coach Branton did a good job of just getting him to get the ball out. You know, he hurt his ankle a little bit last week, so we weren't going to run him a whole lot. So we knew that we had to get the ball out on the perimeter and let those kids go make plays for us, and they did that, and it was pretty cool to see.
And when you can make those happen, because it's something like you said, it's been a part of the offense, but when you see it really connect like it did last night for a lot of reasons, not just the opponent, but because this team is a lot better than it was 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
When you see those kind of things coming together, that's got to be rewarding for the coaching staff a little bit to see the pieces falling in place.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. And we knew they were capable. It just took them a while to see and learn the new offense and learn what they were doing, and it's cool to see them, light bulbs going off. It's not deer in headlights anymore. It's, right, I got you. Yeah, I can do that. So that has been frustrating, but cool to see. Cool to see them have success.
So, now what does it mean for this team that you're checking off, you're going to the postseason, and that's an expectation you all are going to leave for everybody else. But what does it mean for these guys just to get there?
It means everything, man. Coming into the season, we had high expectations. We wanted to host a playoff game. Then those first 2 games, we took some shots. And Happy Valley, like you said, they were 0-3, and they came up and knocked us on our butts. I mean, that hurt our confidence a little bit, and we started, it brought in a couple of doubts. But these last 2 games have been really good, and, we made it to the playoffs, and we're ready to go make some noise.
Coach, you, if you're going to pick a goal, and I know they talk in the postseason, if you're going to win, you got to beat the best anyway. You're going to start off with one of the best.
Yeah.
Your York Institute, which we were joking earlier before you got here that you go to Crossville and turn right, and if you get to Kentucky, you've gone too far. It's about a 2.5-hour drive, and it's amazing that 2 regions that are right next to each other are that far apart. But another long bus ride, and a team that's ranked number 1 by the AP voters, undefeated, and it's a long road trip and all the things that go with that.
Sure, yeah, and Central Time Zone. We've looked at all those things. We've talked about all those things. It's a similar style of football. I mean, it's a single wing, power football. we took a trip to Happy Valley. I mean, that's 2 hours and change. We stopped in Johnson City. We fed the kids. Went to a baseball field downtown Johnson City, the old minor league team.
Yeah, the old park down there.
Yeah, and had a little walk through, and then got over to Happy Valley. So we'll have to do, we'll have to logistically look at, what can we do, where can we stop, get the kids out, get some blood flow. So yeah, it's an obstacle. We called it a journey on the way to Happy Valley. It's not going to be a whole lot different now, other than there's a lot more to play for, right? And I think our kids have handled that well. I mean, we've taken some trips this year, and I don't think that's going to change into a football. So got to get used to it, I guess.
Well, I mean, I know Mike loves this place, but if you're going to go north on 28 out of Crossville, there's a Buc-ee's right there at that exit before, and they've got a big parking lot.
Yeah.
Y'all could work out there. You could probably work out in that store. It's so big. But you get to just looking at the Dragons and what they're doing. It's a big test, but it's not like it's a given. Anything can happen in this postseason.
Right.
So what do you do this week for postseason? Because it's not like you're going to be learning how to tackle at this point in the year. You all know everything that's in the playbook.
Right. You got to get lined up. I mean, they do a lot of unbalanced stuff. They'll have center guard, tight end, two tackles on the other side. They'll have two backs with those two tackles, and then they'll shift all of that. Then they'll get into like a 20 personnel set where they got two receivers twins to one side and the single receiver to the other. They'll do some funky stuff that you've got to be disciplined and you've got to get lined up. You got to be gap responsible, and then you just got to go play football. The tackling, like you said, like see ball, go get ball. Defensively, they're sound in what they do. If you look at who we've had success against, when with young kids, starting 4 sophomores up front, 1 junior, when you know where they're going to line up, you have a better shot at blocking, right? When people start doing all this crazy stuff, sending pressure through gaps and whatever, you struggle with that. So I think the way our offense has played the last, go back to South Green, we can score. We can score. Can we contain them? Can we get lined up defensively? And can we be in a game in the fourth quarter? That's the goal.
Nate, you've got the inside view on the offense. I'll let you close out with this one. But seeing all the pieces, who do you think has come along the most in this offense? Who has grown the most this year for you?
I'd probably say Navarre's grown the most because, he had to sit out those first 3 or 4 games. He didn't come in until late, and he's just been making some plays these last couple games. At Cumberland Gap, he went up and caught one right over some kid. He's really broken out these last couple games, and I think it'll be a big key in the game this Friday against York.
Well, guys, we appreciate coming in to visit with us. We wish you the best of luck on this journey, adventure, trek, whatever you want to call it, expedition. Right. I think you may need to take camels. But thanks for visiting, and we wish you the best luck up there. But
appreciate it, guys.
Mike, we'll go ahead and turn the page.
Okay, Marcus, time for a break, and when we return, Donnie Moore will have sports headlines, and the Boyd Sports Spotlight will be up. You're listening to the Goatee Sports Page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
Since 1925, Anderson Lumber in Alcoa has proudly served and supported our local communities. But did you know Anderson Lumber is so much more than a lumber store? You can stop in anytime and see our incredible kitchen showroom. From floors to cabinets and everything in between, Anderson Lumber's experts can help you design your dream kitchen. And then our install team will make it a reality. Wow. For anything home, we welcome you to visit Anderson Lumber in Alcoa or shop over 67,000 items online at AndersonLumberCompany.com. Anderson Lumber, since 1925.
Aubrey's is known for real comfort, real food, real good. But remember, Aubrey's is also really into Blount County. Aubrey's Maryville has been a strong supporter of local schools and sports programs for more than 15 years. From baseball to football, dance teams, and marching bands, Aubrey's has helped schools and youth programs generate thousands of dollars. It's easy for us to do because it's the right thing to do. So the next time you're looking to choose a place to eat, we hope you'll choose Aubrey's. Real comfort, real food, real good. See what's on the menu at aubreysrestaurants.com.
We all want our loved ones to be safe. Denso in Maryville is at the forefront of creating technology for safer vehicles. Join the automotive industry with Denso in a fast, challenging, clean, and safe environment. They offer great benefits and competitive pay, as well as a convenient on-site healthcare facility, cafes, fitness center, and more. Start your future now. Entry-level production positions start at $16 an hour for second or third shift. Visit densocareers.com/Maryville to learn more and apply. Merlin's Music World in Maryville is owned and operated by Dylan Davis and has been a fixture in Maryville since 1987. Guitars, amplifiers, lessons, sound system, and video system installations are products available at Merlin's. Merlin's also offers a 24-track digital recording studio featuring audio engineer Rusty Chambers. Visit Merlin's at 1920 East Lamar Alexander Parkway or call 977-0093.
It's payday, and on payday, you want to have access to your money right away. When you enroll for direct deposit at Knoxville TVA Employees Credit Union, your money comes to you with no waiting. It's the fastest and most secure way to get paid. Getting set up is easy. All you need is your account number and our routing number. Find out more at tvacreditunion.com.
Join us now.
Federally insured by NCUA. Some restrictions apply. Ask for details.
Welcome back to the Blue Dick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's sports headlines with Blount County Hall of Famer Donnie Moore. Donnie, last night, Arizona and Texas got underway in the World Series, and I don't know, a lot of people aren't too excited about those two teams, but you couldn't have had a more exciting game. Texas played a little home run derby there late, huh?
Yeah, that's my lead story, Mike. So thanks for giving me a good segue right there.
Yeah.
Let's do the sports headlines. The 2023 Major League World Series has begun. Game 1 between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers was played last night in Texas, with the Rangers coming out on top 6-5 in 11 innings. 11 innings. Adolis Garcia has had the walk-off home run in the 11th. So game 2 first pitch is tonight at 8:03. Why do they come up with these strange
I don't know,
first pitch times?
3 minutes over.
What kills me is that's what they actually list as the TV times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, your broadcast is not starting at 8:03.
No, absolutely not.
That's why I even bother telling people that. Tell them it's 8 o'clock and be done with it.
I know, but they say 8:03, but it's tonight in Texas, with the series then moving to Arizona for 3 games beginning on Monday night.
One thing about it, they don't have to worry about the weather.
Absolutely not. Texas
no weather
and
problems.
Arizona, so they're going to have good weather for the series, that's for
I
sure.
had a lot of celebrities at that game last night. George Bush.
He threw out the first pitch.
Does he still have some ownership in the Texas Rangers?
I think maybe he does. He
You know,
used to anyway.
Oh, don't look at me. I don't know.
I don't know. He looked pretty happy last night.
He
so,
did,
I mean,
yeah. Yeah, he still got a decent arm.
Yeah. What's his name was there too? Was it Kelsey, the tight end for Kansas City? He was there.
Well,
no, she wasn't there.
What's her name?
I didn't see her.
Well, anyway.
He looked like he was just by himself last night.
Okay, good deal.
Was he alone?
Yeah, all they showed was him standing up there. You know,
I mean, I'd hate to.
He was standing. I don't know if he had a ticket or not.
When you're on that level of celebrity, for whatever reason, you would think it'd be hard to be.
They usually draw a few more anyway.
Yeah.
Well, get this. A University of Michigan assistant football coach is accused of violating an NCAA rule that deals with scouting possible future opponents during the same season. Connor Stallions allegedly bought tickets to the 2021 and 22 SEC title games, as well as games at Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and Oregon, just in case the Wolverines would meet those teams in a future playoff game. The NCAA rule being looked at reads in part, and I quote, off-campus in-person scouting of future opponents in the same season is prohibited, end of quote. Stallions has been suspended by the university and is at the center of a sign stealing scheme being investigated by the NCAA. And head coach Jim Harbaugh has denied any involvement.
So a member of your coaching staff just disappears on game day Saturdays, and on Monday you're like, where were you? Oh, I went to Clemson.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I don't know anything about that.
Mm-hmm. Was he traveling on his own?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can
you believe that?
I'm not going to call Harbaugh a liar. I'm just going to say, if you didn't know, how did you not know?
Yeah, I know. That's
you didn't know, if you're not missing a member of your staff not being present,
and he's an on-field assistant coach too.
How do you not notice somebody like that missing and not ask a question?
That's like Sergeant Schultz. I know nothing.
Well, I'm not in charge of our little three-ring circus here, but if Donnie's not here, I'm kind of going to know.
Yeah.
Well, they got a few problems up there at Michigan. They're being investigated for some other things too. So there it's an ongoing process. But
one thing
the
after
unfortunate
another.
deal is they're in the fight for a national championship up there with probably the best football team that they've had now. Whether it's on the better to cheat than repeat schedule, I don't know, but that's where they're at.
Oh, boy. Well, home of the Texas Rangers, Globe Life Field is offering some new and exciting food items to its fans. And if you're really hungry, you can order the Lobster Roll Triple Play Meal. Yep, the Lobster Roll Triple Play Meal provided by Delaware North, the club's food service and retail partner. The meal consists of 3 2-foot-long baked buns with lobster topped with tenderloin medallions. Then, same meal, you get a 2-foot-long beef patty topped with chili, nacho cheese, jalapenos, and onion rings on a brioche bun. Finally, a 2-foot-long, 1-pound chili cheese hot dog with jalapenos and onions will finish the dish. Now, the price of the Lobster Roll Triple Play Meal, designed to last for 9 innings, $250. $250 for that one meal.
How are you going to have time to even watch
innings.
the baseball? You're going to spend the entire time eating it and worrying about how much you just spent on that.
No kidding.
You have to carry all that to your seat, I guess.
I'm sure
for $250, they better
bring it to you. I wonder if George Bush ordered the Triple Play Lobster Roll.
You'd think they'd kick in a drink with that.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting fries, but come on, give me a free drink with that.
I'd say they would. The Triple Play Lobster Roll Meal.
I suppose there are people going to baseball games who might find that entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't think your average fan is real interested in that. But let them prove me wrong. Let them post the sales on that next season and see how it did. That's what I'd be interested in.
Well, Mike Christopher Bell was having balance issues with his Toyota at Homestead Miami Speedway on Sunday and fell to 22nd place after Stage 2 in the race. But Bell took advantage of a late caution in Stage 3 and came storming back to take his second win of the season. Bell passed Ryan Blaney with 15 laps to go and held him off by 1 651 ten-thousandths of a second to lock up a spot in next month's championship fold.
Just exactly how close is that?
Well, that's less than 2 seconds.
Really?
Is that like a photo? Do they have to take a picture of that and then go back?
Well, no.
That's pretty close.
That's pretty close, but that's, you can see that with the naked eye.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like just enough, maybe beating by a headlight or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Half a fender, maybe. Yeah. So that's pretty good. Olympic gold medalist. I've been giving you these updates, so I'm going to give you one more. Olympic gold medalist Mary Lou Retton is home from the hospital and in recovery mode, according to her daughter, McKenna Kelly. On October 10th, it was reported that Retton, 55 years old, had a very rare form of pneumonia and was fighting for her life. According to the family, Retton has no insurance, and they were raising funds online for her medical bills with a target of $50,000.
How do you do that? How do you get by without any kind of medical insurance at all?
Question.
Most people, even though they are destitute, have some form of medical insurance.
Yeah.
But
listen to this. As of Monday afternoon, more than $459,000 has been raised. So I'd say she's got money left over from.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know about that.
Not medical
I
bills.
tell you what. I tell you what. If they've announced $459,000, the hospital will send them a bill for $459,000.
You better believe it.
They won't leave anything on the table.
What's
You
worse
may be
is
exactly right.
if it's like some of the hospitals, I'm not going to insinuate this is the hospital here. I'm going to say some
calling any
hospitals.
names, huh?
No, I'm going to say some hospitals within the region. They might wait 11 months and send you the bill.
Yeah. You're right about that.
I have a friend who got the bill for the delivery after the kid had his first birthday before they got the final bill for
Good grief. All right, let's have a few on this day in sports items right here. 1924, the White Sox beat the New York Giants 8-4 in Dublin, Ireland. You know how many fans attended?
All of them?
Fewer than 20. Fewer than 20. Didn't have any. That was in 1924.
That's because they had a soccer match and a Formula One race on the same day.
There you go. Not many fans of American baseball in Dublin that day. 1953, Bud Grant. You know that name?
Minnesota Viking coach.
Bud Grant. He was a member of the Canadian Football League Winnipeg Blue Bombers in 1953. He intercepts a record 5 passes in that one game. So not only was he a
Was
good
that all
coach,
5 passes that were attempted in that game?
That may have been, but he picked off 5 passes, a record for that in the CFL Winnipeg Blue Bombers. 1961, the ground was broken for Municipal Stadium. Later became known as Shea Stadium for the New York Mets on this day. 1962, New York Giants quarterback Y.A. Tittle throws for 7 touchdowns versus the Washington Redskins in a 49-34 win. He's a good one.
He really was. He was a great quarterback.
He sure was.
And you don't hear as much. He didn't get the notoriety after his career was over with as some of the other quarterbacks have gotten through the years. But he was a great quarterback for the New York Giants. He had a lot of great players around him.
Mike, you may remember this guy. 1973, guy that played for the Lakers, Elmore Smith. You remember Elmore Smith?
Yeah, name sounds familiar.
That did to me too. He set an NBA record. He blocked 17 shots in one game. NBA record.
17 shots.
Blocked 17 shots.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Yeah.
How does Wilt Chamberlain not have that record?
I don't know. I would have thought he would. But Elmore
if you'd asked
Smith,
me a trivia question, I would have said Wilt.
Yeah.
I would have too.
Yeah.
I would have to. But Elmore Smith owns the record. 1973. 1926, birthdays. Bowie Kuhn, Major League Baseball commissioner from 1969 to 1984. He died in 2007. Bowie Kuhn. 1937, born on this day, Lenny Wilkens.
Yeah.
Lenny Wilkens, NBA point guard
Coach and player.
head coach of the Seattle Supersonics.
Right.
Yep.
Seattle.
1972, born on this day, Terrell Davis, Pro Football Hall of Fame running back for the Denver Broncos. Died on this day, 2006, Hall of Fame basketball coach for the Boston Celtics, Red Auerbach.
There's a guy lit up a few cigars,
He
isn't it?
sure
Huh?
did.
Couple.
Always was chewing on a stogie.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
had to die of emphysema or something.
Had
Wouldn't
to.
he?
Yeah. And he didn't just chew on them either, like Ray did.
All those championship years he had in
Oh,
Boston. It was almost a foregone conclusion that Boston was going
Yes.
to win the title every year.
And died on this day, October the 28th, in 2022, just last year, Vince Dooley, College Football Hall of Fame coach and athletics director for the University of Georgia from 1979 to 2004.
Yeah. What a great coach he was.
I'm telling you, he was.
Yeah, he and the impact he made at the University of Georgia, not only as a coach, but as their athletic director down there. Yeah,
that's right.
Also was a great gardener, landscaper of his house. Had a lot of flowers and shrubs and so forth and so on. That was kind of his hobby.
Indeed. Well, that's it for this week's sports headlines. Now let's bring the Boyd Sports Spotlight into focus. Back to you, Gunner.
Yeah, now the Boyd Sports Spotlight shines on today's Southeastern Conference, so I'm going to bring back in Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons. I want to talk a little bit about the races. Marcus, over in the SEC East, we've got 3 teams right now that are in contention as we talk today. Georgia's 4-0, Missouri 3-1, and Florida is 3-1. Of course, if Florida loses today, you would have to say, they're out. Missouri, I don't think Missouri plays today. Missouri does not play today. So Georgia, it's a big game for Georgia because Georgia has Mississippi and Missouri and Tennessee on the road. So if Georgia was to win today, Marcus, then they got work to do. Mississippi and Missouri, two teams that are competing in the 2 divisions. They've got them in Athens coming up, and then the trip to Tennessee. So Georgia's got some work to do. Can't afford to drop this game today.
No, and I think all eyes are going to be on the Georgia offense today just to see how it responds and works. I think there were a lot of question marks left due to injuries after last week as to how successful that offense can be. And because they've made the tight end such a big part of that offense, now you've got a question mark.
Yeah, and you're talking about Brock Bowers, who went down in the Vanderbilt game, and the way he beats you is if they need a big play, they go to him. Yeah, that's the off, not necessarily play in and play out, but if they need the big play, they're looking for Brock Bowers to make that play.
I mean, you don't want to see a player hurt any time, but good grief, you lose a guy like that to playing against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, in a game that you're going to win anyway. Yeah. Over in the SEC West, Alabama is at 5-0. LSU is at 4-1, and Ole Miss is 3-1. The Rebels, they're still in contention, Donnie, but they don't have the tiebreaker with LSU.
That's true.
They don't have the tiebreaker with Alabama. Alabama defeated them, so Alabama's in pretty good shape. They've got LSU at home, so that's going to really be the game that probably decides that over there. Bama doesn't have much left after that game, so to speak. So that'll pretty well decide things over there. What could work things into a frenzy would be if LSU was to beat Alabama, and you got all those teams with one loss over there. That could create, in the next weeks to come, that could create some interesting scenarios as we talk. But you look at these right now, and you look at the scenarios, and you look what's got there, and you think, well, it's going to be Georgia, it's going to be Alabama, but just one loss on either side there, Marcus, could throw everything in a frenzy.
Any given Saturday, that's the the SEC this season. It's the difference between the top and not the bottom, but the next to the bottom is a lot closer than it's been in a long time.
And what a week's difference makes, because last week we were saying, well, if Tennessee goes down and beats Alabama, go get your Georgia tickets, however you can get them here at Neyland Stadium, because it's going to go down to Georgia and Tennessee. But of course, Tennessee lost. So now Tennessee, their predicament is, Donnie, they got to win out. They got to win out, and they got to have some help on Georgia. And hopefully that game comes down to what it was built to as the game that decides the East winner, because if Georgia's got a loss, Tennessee's got 2 losses when they come in here, and Tennessee beats them, they would have the tiebreaker.
That's true.
So we'll see what see what happens there. But the
I think
schedule.
you're asking a lot of Florida, but
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we are asking a lot of Florida, and I still don't, not too crazy about Florida. I rate them a little bit higher than I do Kentucky, but not much. But let's talk a little bit about the game down there in Jacksonville today. Donnie, it's the world's largest cocktail party. Is there anybody? What time is it? It's 20 minutes till 12. Is anybody sober down there at 12 o'clock, or should we give them another hour?
No, I don't. I think it's already started.
Yeah.
They've tried to downplay that, Mike,
Yeah.
as being the world's largest cocktail party, but you're exactly right. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, when does those parking lots open? Like 10 o'clock last night or something?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, there are people that sleep out there. Well, they're there. I'm not sure how much sleeping they're doing, but I mean, that's a party and a half.
They've done one thing right.
Jacksonville looks forward to this all year long.
The game's at 3:30. It could be worse. It could be like a 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock game where they're completely. I mean, you got to sober them up to get them to the state. Pour some water on them or whatever. But yeah, number one Georgia that's against Florida down there. That site is a neutral site. Has been for years down in Jacksonville, and so for Georgia. It's on the line. The SEC East is up. Georgia's, if you're looking at a team to go to the playoffs, everybody's looking at Georgia to go to the playoffs again. Them and Alabama and have probably got I think they do have the two best chances of playoff hope. So this is a big game for the Dogs. And it's also a big game to Florida if they're going to stay in the hunt for an East championship. Huh?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
And Georgia is by far, and not Georgia's not the team that they have been in the past, I don't think, but they're still the best team in the SEC East.
Yeah, and they're just like a lot of other teams in the league. The reason they're not the team in the past is because they don't have the quarterback they had in the past, and that's the way it is pretty much all the way through the Southeastern Conference for the most part. Florida finally got them a road win in South Carolina last week. They're feeling a little bit, or 2 weeks ago, they're feeling a lot better about themselves, Marcus, going into this one.
I mean, if you're Florida, you're feeling good about some of the things you've accomplished this year, and then you're also feeling like, oh, man. But, it's one of those things I can't rule out and say there's no way for Florida to win this. They can if enough things go their way. But I don't think they can rocket it and take it anywhere. I mean, even if they were to pull the upset, do we think they're going to go in contention and try to play spoiler and win the East? No, not really.
Yeah, well, they got to go to LSU. That's going to be a big.
I mean,
Georgia's 14.5-point favorite coming in. Donnie, the old ball coach, Steve Spurrier, he says it's the Gators. They're going to pull the upset of the day. Huh?
I can't see that.
Now that was about Thursday. Do you reckon he had gone ahead and started drinking ahead of schedule for the world's largest cocktail party?
If he says they're going to pull an upset, he must have. You said this, Mike, and I got to thinking: is there a great quarterback in the SEC anywhere?
No. When you're comparing it to the quarterbacks in the Pac-12, and some of the other places around the country, no.
I can't think of one.
No. That's getting the publicity that they've had in the past.
I think you've got some that have. You've got the kid at LSU. If he doesn't trip and LSU doesn't trip in the opener, I think it's a different story maybe with him.
Is he great? You can't even think of his name.
Well, I don't remember any of their names. I don't try to keep track of their names. It changes every year. But you've got a couple that were on the verge, maybe in preseason, and were being considered, but they've all taken a big loss in the big game.
Yeah,
so
I know.
But that doesn't mean that they're not good quarterbacks. It's just you don't have the one who has stood out and made a difference and won a big game. Put the team on their shoulders and won a game.
I'll tell you what, the biggest difference I've seen in the Southeastern Conference is the teams in here have relied, Donnie, a little bit more on defense this year. You know, in past years,
see that.
it's been the offense. You know, the offense, the number of points scored. You got to have an offense that scores a lot of points. And then this year, you know, it's not the big
pass this year. It's the run game and defense.
Yeah,
the explosiveness is not there.
I
but
think
that
that's a big
discount
surprise.
the win.
Yeah. Hey, that game is at 3:30 on CBS today. South Carolina is at Texas A&M, a 12 o'clock start. Donnie, South Carolina's reeling. And they are. They're having a disappointing year. They're coming in at 1-4 in the conference, and Texas A&M is at 2-2, and they're sort of limping in.
South Carolina's hurting almost as bad as Shane Beamer's foot.
Yeah, they really are. And Texas A&M, Marcus, they can't find any offense. I mean, they got pretty good defense, but they can't score any points.
Something's got to go on there. You know, somebody's going to get a little bit of a lift for November out of today. One of the two.
Yeah.
I would think it's going to be A&M.
Well, you would think. Yeah, it all depends on what South Carolina team shows up, but they're giving up so many sacks. I mean,
but you look at A&M and you think there's an offense that has so much potential. Even when they came here and lost, that has so much potential. It's just not being tapped right. I mean, it's not like they don't have the talented players on that roster and on the field. They're just not getting them in good positions.
Yeah. Mississippi State is at Auburn today. Auburn's a 6.5 point favorite in that football game. There's a couple of teams that struggled, although Mississippi State got a big win at Arkansas. You know, and they're 4-3 overall, 1-3, and it's a couple of teams trying to find a way to get into a bowl game, isn't it, Marcus, for the most part?
Well, they're battling.
Yeah.
They're battling.
Yeah. And Hugh Freeze trying to find his first win in the Southeastern Conference at Auburn. You know, he was a former coach at Mississippi, but doesn't have a win. But they're drawing a good crowd. They had a good crowd down there last week at Auburn. You know, so hopefully they can get the win today. But Mississippi State will pose a challenge. Vanderbilt's at Ole Miss. That's at 7:30 on the SEC Network. Do we need to say anything more about that? Ole Miss is a 24-point favorite.
I think they'll cover.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What networks Tennessee play on?
Tennessee plays on that's on the ESPN. ESPN, yeah, at 7 o'clock. ESPN at 7 o'clock.
Good.
Yeah. Hey, it's time for a break, and when we return, it's the Bowl Prediction segment. You're listening to the Goatee Sports page, and now stay tuned for the best in local sports.
The Bluetick Tavern is home to the tastiest pizza in Blount County. Try our signature Broadway barbecue pizza, grilled chicken and red onions covered in mounds of mozzarella. Or sink your teeth into our one-of-a-kind chicken and bacon pizza. Made with an olive oil base, grilled chicken, bacon, red onions, and covered in Brussels petals. The Bluetick Tavern also has salads, sandwiches, and the area's largest beer selection. Regularly recognized as the best pizza in Blount County, it's the Bluetick Tavern, located at 128 West Broadway in downtown Maryville. Waters Equipment is your East Tennessee New Holland agriculture and construction dealer. Waters Equipment has been serving Blount County for 48 years and has 2 locations in Maryville for sales and service for New Holland equipment. Offering shop and field service for trucks and equipment of all brands, Waters offers equipment rentals for New Holland skid steer, Mini X, and tractors. Call 238-9000 for your rental needs. That's 238-9000. Waters Equipment New Holland. Excellence in service. For over 50 years and 3 generations, the people of Blount County have trusted Stevenson Tire with their vehicles and their families. Our mission has always been simple: to provide quality products at reasonable prices with exceptional customer service. Featuring tire products from Michelin, BF Goodrich, Uniroyal, Bridgestone, Firestone, and Yokohama, Stevenson Tire also offers alignment and brake services at affordable prices. Stevenson Tire Company, 2411 East Broadway Avenue in Maryville. Call 983-1621 or online at StevensonTire.net. Your newspaper, that's right. The Daily Times is your newspaper, tailored to where you live, emphasizing the things that affect you and keeping track of the people and players in our community. The award-winning Daily Times can be delivered each morning right to your door or inbox with the latest in local news and sports. For a 30-day free trial offer, call 981-1100 and begin enjoying your life, your times, every day with the Daily Times.
The Roger L. Newman Company began in 1984 with a vision of providing Blount County with excellent heating and cooling service. Mr. Newman also wanted a real business. No gimmicks and no high-pressure sales. They just fix it or replace it. They want to stay within your budget and make you comfortable. Their motto still stands true today. Call us first, we'll be there. Call Roger L. Newman Company at 982-5446 or visit online at rogerlnewman.com. Cooler temperatures are approaching. Upgrade your furnace now for as little as $50 a month.
Welcome back to the Blue Tick Tavern in downtown Maryville. This is Mike Edwards, and it's time for this week's Bold Predictions segment. And I'm going to bring back in Donnie Moore and Marcus Fitzsimmons. We got some big national games on the agenda today, and some top couple good SEC games, and we're going to make some picks. Marcus, I'm going to start with you. Number 8 Oregon is at number 13 Utah. Utah with a big win out at Southern California last week on the road, and they're still in the national hunt along with Oregon. Both of them have one loss, and in order to look at a playoff spot, they can't lose another game, the rest of the way out. But who do you like?
What's the line?
6.5, Oregon.
Oregon by 6.5? I'm going to go with that. I think Utah has USC's number. I don't think they have Oregon's. And I'm going to go with the sign I saw on SportsCenter this morning. You can't spell obnoxious without Bo Nix.
There you go. There you go. Donnie, who you like? You like the Ducks? You like their uniforms? You don't know what kind of uniform they're going to wear.
No, you don't. And I've been picking Oregon for the last 2 or 3 weeks that we've been picking. But I'm going to go a different way this time. I'm going to pick the Utes.
Utes don't stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick the Utes at home.
And that's what I'm going to do. I think what's turned it for Utah and what's going to bring them to the top are those 85 trucks they gave those players out there. you give somebody a truck now.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good move.
Yeah, they've been pretty good since they delivered those trucks to those players. So I'm going to go with Utah at home. That is, to me, Utah is a fascinating story out there. You'd think, my gosh, what do they do in Utah? Ski? Toboggan, sled? But
some
football.
Places,
but they're getting
some places it's desert, though.
Hey, they've done a great job out there in their football program, And, of course, getting in the Pac-12 has helped them to do what they've needed to get done out there to get to where they are. There's no doubt about that. Hey, here's one, number 19 Air Force, 7-0. And a lot of people think they've got the best team in Colorado. They're at Colorado State today. Colorado State is 3-4. Who do you like, Donnie?
I like the Falcons.
I like the Falcons too. Who do you think, Marcus?
I'll stay with Air Force. I'm really not confident they'll cover that spread, but I'm going to go with them anyway.
Yeah. Well, there's nobody that's running the triple option any better than Air Force right now.
Absolutely not.
They're number 19, and they got it going. Let's drop down here to Tennessee's a 3.5-point favorite at Kentucky, and I'm going to go first. I'm going to go first, and I've got Tennessee. And you beat somebody as many times as Kentucky. I just don't see the Cats with the way they've played this year of beating Tennessee in any way tonight. I'm always curious about rivalries. Tennessee and Alabama's a rivalry. Mm-hmm. Tennessee and Florida's a rivalry. I mean, the crowds are unbelievable when you go to those games. And the biggest rivalry game, I would think, for Kentucky would be Tennessee. But I don't sense that rivalry. Get up. This is the game. Let's go out there. The stadium's zonkers. Why is that, Marcus?
Well, Kentucky hasn't had a lot of success. They've had a couple wins, but in recent years, but they've had a lot of success. And the other was, I mean, they've never replaced the beer barrel. I understand why they retired it, and I think I know where it actually ended up, but they've never replaced it with something else for the signature for this series, and this series needs something.
Yeah. Well, they need to bring it back. They're serving beer in the stadiums now. What's holding the beer barrel back? If you can't find it, go ahead and make another one. Surely you can find an old beer barrel somewhere and put the links on it.
Somebody has it.
With the number of distilleries in the state now, I think you could do something between that. But that's just me. Anyway, I'm going with Kentucky just because I think it's going to be a 3-point game.
Really?
I think it's going to be that close, huh?
Yeah. All right.
Well, you know, it's not really a rivalry because Kentucky's Kentucky, and they don't beat Tennessee.
So
Vols.
Donnie's got the Vols. Georgia, we're back to you, Marcus. Georgia and Florida. Georgia's a 14.5 line.
I'm going to go with Florida because I'm not sure Georgia can cover.
Georgia's going to win the game. I'm not sure they'll cover the line either, but they're going to win the game easy. I think they'll cover.
You taking Georgia?
Yeah.
I'm taking Georgia too. Down there, I'm a little bit concerned about the 14.5 because their offense sputters around a little bit.
Pretty big line.
I'm not too thrilled with Florida's offense either.
No, I'm not either.
So I don't know.
Now, what will blow my pick out of the water is if Florida comes out and smacks them in the mouth and goes up 10-0 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
All bets are off, and Georgia will stomp all over them. But if this is just a trade field goal sort of thing, and nobody gets more than a score ahead, then I don't think Georgia will put the foot down.
Great thing about this game, Donnie, is everybody's drunk. So if you lose, you have no feeling.
Yep, that's
right?
true.
You have no feeling whatsoever.
Heck, some people have to read the paper on Sunday to find out who actually won the game they went to.
Who won the game? Yeah,
you could be right about that.
I got one more. Ohio State.
Okay, one more.
Ohio State's at Wisconsin. Ohio State's a 14.5-point favorite. And that's number 3, Ohio State at Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin.
Yeah, I'll go with you, Donnie.
I don't think Ohio State will cover that line at Wisconsin. So I'm going to go with Wisconsin spoiling that one.
I'll say Ohio State because I think they're going for style points today.
Okay. All right. And they're coming off. Ohio State's coming off. I believe, didn't they play Penn State? They beat Penn State last week. So they're coming off that big game. This is the next game. I'm going with the Badgers.
Badgers.
Because I'll tell you what, that
they may not win the game, but they're going to make it close.
That big game, next game's always the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie, we ready? Ready to get out of here? All right. Yeah. Hey, that'll do it for today's edition of the Goatee Sports Page. Thanks to Aaron Ishmael back at Loud Media, our host, the Blue Tick Tavern, and all our sponsors. For Donnie Moore, Marcus Fitzsimmons, and Troy Provo Heron, until next Saturday, this is Mike Edwards, the Greenfield Gunner, wishing everyone good sports.
And that's the final whistle. Join us again next Saturday for the Goatee Sports Page. The best in local sports.